In the quiet Chicago suburb of Oak Park, the Thompson family lived in a cozy, modest two-story home adorned with a white picket fence that seemed to whisper stories of suburban tranquility. Diane Thompson, a 52-year-old librarian with a gentle touch for books and people alike, was the steadfast anchor of this family. Her son, Mark, 30, was a hands-on kind of man who ran an auto shop where the scent of grease and gasoline clung to his clothes like a second skin. He'd married Lauren, a sharp and ambitious real estate agent, a year ago, bringing a blend of her keen business sense into their lives. Their daughter, Sophie, 10, was a bright-eyed girl with an infectious love for mystery novels. Nancy Drew was her constant companion in adventures, and her sanctuary was the sturdy treehouse Mark had built in their backyard, a place where secrets were shared and dreams took flight. Mark's health, though, had taken a dire turn over months. Fatigue dogged him like a shadow, nausea plagued him, and a persistent side pain he'd blamed on the physical rigors of his auto shop work hadn't let up. It was at a summer barbecue, amid laughter and grilled burgers, that Mark's world spun darkly. He collapsed, his body crumbling like leaves in autumn. Rushed to Mercy Hospital, the diagnosis fell like a hammer blow: kidney failure. He needed a transplant urgently. Without it, even dialysis wouldn't sustain him for long. The news cleaved Diane's heart. She tested as a donor and, poignant hope, was a match. Surgery was set for next week, a date that hung heavy with anticipation and anxiety. Lauren pushed hard for it, managing the medical paperwork with a frantic, almost feverish energy. "We can't lose him, Diane," she said, her voice tight as a wire pulled drum-tight, eyes glinting with an intensity that unsettled Diane momentarily. But unease nibbled at Diane's resolve. There were Lauren's late-night calls, taken in whispers on the porch under street lamp shadows. They seemed secretive, cocooned in mystery. When Diane asked about Mark's medications, Lauren's practiced smile flickered like a candle in a draft. Diane pushed her doubts aside as stress. Who wouldn't be desperate to save their husband? Yet the discomfort lingered like an unresolved chord. Sophie, though, saw more. Fueled by her diet of Nancy Drew books and true crime podcasts, the young girl was observant in a way that belied her years. She loved Mark dearly. He'd taught her to change tires with a patience that felt like love made tangible and to sneak cookies when no one was looking with a conspiratorial grin. Lauren, her stepmom, felt distant though, always handling Mark's medications herself with a quiet control that Sophie found curious. One evening while Lauren was out showing a high-rise condo to prospective buyers, Sophie slipped into their bedroom with a pounding heart, curiosity overriding caution. Under the bed, pushed back behind a dusty shoebox, she found a locked metal case that felt like one of her mystery novels come to life. Using a paperclip, a detective trick she'd read about, she opened it with fingers that trembled with excitement and a little fear. Inside lay unmarked pill vials unlike anything Mark had been prescribed openly, and a notebook scribbled with numbers, stark dates, and ominous notes like $50,000 due. Sophie's hands shook photographing them with her phone. The implications felt bigger than her small frame. The night before the scheduled surgery, Sophie retreated to her treehouse, a refuge wrapped in branches like nature's own cloak. She scrolled through those unsettling photos on her phone, mind racing. The pills looked wrong, so unlike the familiar bottles at home. Then she recalled a recording she'd made a week ago. Practicing lines for her school play had led her to hit record accidentally on her. Lauren had been whispering on the phone in their kitchen, "Once it's done, the payout's ours." Sophie's stomach churned queasily. She didn't grasp it all, tangled as the words were in adult secrecy, but primal intuition told her it was bad, terribly bad. Next morning found Diane standing vulnerable in the pre-op room, signing consent forms in a thin hospital gown that seemed to strip away her strength. Mark lay nearby, pale as the sheets, monitors beeping with clinical steadiness. Lauren paced with contained energy, phone buzzing like an anxious insect in her hand. "You're doing the right thing," she said, her smile feeling forced to Diane's wary eyes. Diane nodded woodenly, picturing Mark as a rambunctious boy playing tag in their old backyard. She'd do anything for him. As the nurse wheeled Diane toward the operating theater's cold brightness, Sophie burst into the room, backpack slung awkwardly over her shoulder. "Grandma, stop!" she shouted, voice cutting like a clarion through the antiseptic air. The room froze. Diane sat up sharply as Sophie thrust her phone at the hesitant nurse. "Play this." The nurse pressed play with fingers that seemed to tremble in sync with Sophie's fear. Lauren's voice echoed chillingly, "Once it's done, the payout's ours. The insurance will clear." Diane's blood seemed to congeal. Comprehension dawned cold as winter stone. Lauren lunged for the phone, but the nurse stepped crisply back. Sophie, tears streaming now like autumn rain, showed her photos of the alien pills and notebook entries. "She's giving Dad something bad," she said, small voice fierce. Security was summoned, the surgery stopped mid-breath. Diane clutched Sophie tightly as Mark was rushed to ICU for urgent testing. Analysis of those vials brought dark truth. The pills were toxic, unprescribed, and had cruelly worsened Mark's plight. Police arrived swiftly, questioning Lauren with a stern intentness. Her notebook revealed sinister dealings with a dealer supplying those poisonous pills. She'd taken a $500,000 life insurance policy on Mark, planning coldly to collect after his orchestrated death. The transplant push had been a delay tactic, a macabre ploy to avoid raising suspicion. Lauren was arrested, led away in handcuffs with a stark finality that left silence in the hospital corridors. Diane sat vigil by Mark's bedside, holding his hand as new treatments gradually stabilized him. Sophie curled nearby, clutching her phone like a talisman. "You saved him, Sophie," Diane whispered with tears mixing gratitude and shock. Sophie smiled, exhausted but proud like a young warrior claiming a hard-won victory. Mark recovered slowly. A new donor was found through the registry with the slimmest thread of hope. Diane grappled painfully with Lauren's calculated betrayal, replaying moments she'd ignored her creeping doubts. The Oak Park home felt quieter afterward, but somehow stronger, tempered like forged steel. Sophie, hailed locally as a hero by news touching her small-town world, retreated happily to her treehouse with a fresh novel. The real-life case she'd unraveled was etched now indelibly in her memory like a true story worth remembering. As autumn leaves drifted gold and crimson in Oak Park streets, Diane and Mark rebuilt their bond, anchored powerfully by Sophie's uncommon courage. The dark family secret had nearly broken them, but a child's sharp bravery proved love could yet outsmart the darkest of lies. The Oak Park home felt quieter now, but it was a different kind of quiet, one filled with newfound hope and strength. Mark's health was improving, and Diane was spending more time with him, deepening their bond. Sophie sat in her treehouse, reading a new Nancy Drew novel, when she received a strange letter. The letter was in a plain white envelope, with no return address. The message inside was brief. "Lauren's case isn't over yet. There are more pieces of truth you should know. Meet me at the old park at midnight." Sophie's heart started pounding. She couldn't forget Lauren's deceit. Was this a new threat? She didn't want to tell Diane, but curiosity was overwhelming her. At midnight, Sophie slipped out of the house and headed to the old park. A shadowy figure stood there, face hidden behind a mask. "Who are you?" Sophie asked bravely. "I'm someone who knows Lauren's true scheme," the voice said. She wasn't alone. There's a bigger network behind it who wanted to target Mark, and maybe still does. Sophie felt a chill. "What do you mean? Lauren's parents were involved in the conspiracy too," the masked person said. But there's another person, someone very close. Someone in your family. Sophie's mind spun. Was it possible? She returned home, restless and troubled. The next day, while having breakfast with Diane and Mark, Sophie noticed Mark's old friend, Alex, had come to visit. Alex had always been close to Mark. But now Sophie recalled the masked person's words. Could Alex be that close person? Alex smiled, talking about old times with Mark. Sophie looked into his eyes. Was he truly sincere? That night, Sophie sat in her treehouse thinking. Was she wrong? But the masked person's words lingered in her mind. The next morning, Sophie decided to dig deeper about Alex. She quietly searched online about him on her phone. Some surprising links popped up. Alex had business dealings with Lauren in real estate. And an old case where Alex's name had appeared. Sophie's heart raced faster. Was Alex really involved? She decided to tell Diane. Diane was stunned, but together they started investigating. Police got more evidence, and Alex was questioned. Eventually, Alex confessed he was involved in the scheme with Lauren. They wanted to harm Mark to get insurance money. After Alex's confession, a strange silence had settled over the Oak Park home. Diane, Mark, and Sophie were all going through mixed emotions: surprise, anger, and relief. The air felt heavy with unspoken questions, like the calm before a storm that refused to subside. Sophie was sitting in her treehouse, lost in thoughts. The masked person's words still echoed in her mind. There's a bigger network. Someone close is involved. She wanted to know if Alex was indeed the close person who was mentioned. Her fingers absently flipped through the pages of her Nancy Drew novel, but her mind was miles away, tangled in the threads of mystery she'd uncovered. Suddenly, she received a strange message on her phone. The screen lit up in the dim light of the treehouse. If you want to know the truth, come to the old warehouse. Come alone. Sophie's heart started racing. Was this a message from the masked person? A shiver ran down her spine as she stared at the words, her thumb hovering over the screen as if hoping for more clues. She decided to go without telling Diane. In the darkness of night, Sophie slipped out of the house, the cool Oak Park breeze whispering through her hair as she walked swiftly toward the old warehouse on the outskirts of town. The streetlights cast long shadows. Every step felt like it echoed louder than it should. The warehouse door creaked open slowly, like a sigh from the past. Inside was dark, with only a weak bulb flickering above, casting eerie patterns on the dusty floor. Sophie saw a shadowy figure. The masked person was standing there, face hidden as before, voice low and measured. You heard about Alex, the masked person said. But the real game is bigger. Lauren and Alex were part of a larger network that targets people, especially wealthy ones with big insurance policies. Sophie's eyes widened as she breathed shallowly, trying to grasp the implications. What do you mean? Who are these people? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Their aim is to grab insurance money, the masked person said softly, the words hanging in the air like a threat. But there's another person. Someone high up. Someone who controlled Lauren and Alex. Sophie's mind raced. She recalled a name: Richard Wells. Lauren's parents' business partner. Was he the person? A knot formed in her stomach as suspicion crawled like a cold insect up her spine. The masked person handed Sophie a thin file. This is evidence. But be careful. Richard Wells is dangerous. He can remove anyone from his path. Sophie took the file with hands that felt unsteady, her fingers brushing against the papers inside as if feeling for hidden dangers. She decided to leave quickly. As she stepped out into the night air, she noticed a car parked down the street. Its windows were tinted, impenetrable like dark glass. Was someone tracking her? The thought sent a jolt through her nerves. She quickened her pace back toward the safety of home. Sophie reached home, and Diane was worried, standing in the foyer with a look of unease. "Where did you go?" Diane asked, her voice tinged with concern. Sophie hesitated for a moment before telling the truth, about the masked person, the warehouse, and Richard Wells. Diane's eyes showed deep concern, her face tightening like she'd aged years in an instant. "We need to tell the police. This is dangerous," she said firmly, grasping Sophie's shoulders as if anchoring her to safety. The next morning, police started investigations. Richard Wells' name came up in their inquiries, but he was missing. Had he escaped, leaving behind only threads of deceit? The detectives spoke with grave faces, their words clipped as they pored over evidence in the local police station where Diane and Sophie had gone early. Mark, who was feeling better now, sat at home with a mix of emotions. "We need to stay strong. Sophie saved us again," he said, looking at his mother and sister with warmth and lingering wariness. Sophie smiled faintly, but there was still worry in her eyes, like shadows lurking just beyond the light. The Oak Park street seemed quieter now, autumn leaves drifting gold and crimson as if mirroring the mix of calm and turmoil inside them. Would they ever find peace again? Only time seemed to hold the answer, ticking away like a clock in a suspenseful pause. And in the lingering silence afterward, it felt like the story hung in the air, suspended, waiting to see what darkness or light would come next. The days that followed were a blur of police investigations and cautious breathing for the Thompsons. Richard Wells remained elusive, like a shadow that refused to be pinned down. But Sophie's determination hadn't waned. She pored over the file the masked person had given her, piecing together clues like a young detective in her Nancy Drew world. One evening, as autumn darkness swept Oak Park, Sophie found a cryptic note tucked into her treehouse, the masked person's handwriting again. "Look closer to home." The words unsettled her. What did it mean? Was there someone they'd overlooked? That night, Sophie couldn't sleep. She replayed every conversation, every hint. And then it hit her, a connection she'd missed. Alex had mentioned a partner once. What if that partner wasn't just a business associate? Next morning, Sophie shared her hunch with Diane and Mark. They listened intently as police were called in again. The investigation took a sharp turn. A hidden safe in Alex's old apartment yielded shocking proof. Richard Wells hadn't acted alone. His own son, Julian, had been deeply involved, manipulating threads from within. Julian Wells was arrested, his cold facade cracking under police scrutiny. Richard Wells was tracked down in a distant city, brought back to face justice. The network's dark dealings began unraveling like a tainted thread pulled from a fabric. As winter touched Oak Park with frosty mornings, the Thompsons found a fragile peace. Mark's health was stable now. Diane held her family's hands tighter than before. Sophie retreated to her treehouse often, books for companions, her mind reflecting on bravery she discovered within herself. In the quiet of one snowy evening, Sophie looked up at Oak Park's twinkling lights and smiled softly. They'd faced shadows, but love had outsmarted deceit. The darkness had met its match, and with that thought, the story seemed to settle, like snowflakes drifting gently to rest.